Welcome to A Conversation With, which is a monthly YouTube series brought to you by Women in Voice. My name is Aisha, and I'm on the social media strategy team at Women in Voice, which is an international organization that aims to empower women and other gender minorities in the voice technology space. Every month, I'll be having a conversation with an amazing woman in the voice tech space. Our first guest is Amanda Stevens. Amanda is a director of conversation design at Master of Code Global. She is a charismatic, creative, and driven leader with a strong experience in conversation design, natural language processing, and optimization. She is passionate about designing AI solutions to educate and engage users, and I'm so excited to be speaking with her today. Thank you so much for joining us, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have a bunch of questions here for you, so I'm going to get started. These were submitted by Women in Voice members that are super interested in what you do. So the first
Amazing.
question, pretty simple, but how did you get started in the conversation design space?
It's so funny. I've gotten asked this question a few times, and I also love hearing it from fellow conversation designers because it's such a new role. You get people from all different walks of life and industries and with different experiences, kind of, falling in or leaning into this role, this type of role. For me, I actually came from the world of advertising. I've always been in client facing positions and doing kind of more strategic roles, account management, and actually started at Master of Code as an account manager where, I'm responsible for ensuring that the bots that we build for our clients are, performing and we're iterating and we're optimizing and we're adding new features. And in doing so, you look at a lot of data, you look at a
Hmm.
lot of analytics. And I was seeing users falling out of flows, users getting stuck. And again, with my background, I did copywriting before and um, working primarily in digital agencies, had a bit of a technology background as well as some user experience um, work done as well. So I started making suggestions to our developers. Let's tweak this, or I'm seeing a trend here, and continuously adding all these improvements across a series of different clients that I was managing, started to form these best practices and saw a real opportunity to move into a full-time position that did this
Yeah.
because there's so much value behind it. So yeah, it was kind of by accident, but I absolutely love what I do. It's been really, really great and really rewarding.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I love that it's not like a boring career path. It just kind of progressed, as you moved along. That's super organic and awesome.
Thank you.
So what does a typical day look like for you currently in your role?
Sure. The last few months we've been so busy. We've seen such an influx of, clients, new clients coming to us and realizing that automation needs to be part of their lives and automation needs to be part of the business that they're in or they work for or own. And so, these days it's a lot of client calls. I also have calls with my team. There's five of us, and it's understanding who's doing what, making sure that if anyone needs help, I'm there to support. I'm also reviewing, other artifacts that my team's creating and making sure I can support them there or add feedback. And also, trying to hire at the moment and get people onboarded because we're definitely growing our team.
That's exciting. What does your
Yeah.
team look like currently?
So we have four conversation designers and one bot tuner, and we have another bot tuner that's currently being trained up and looking to hire a couple more conversation designers.
That's amazing. So when we talked a little bit earlier, you talked about having like a really diverse team with a whole bunch of different skill sets. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, like I said before, people kind of come from all different walks of life, and that's including my team as well. We have a conversation designer who was a product manager and came from game design. We have another one who, was an English teacher. I have an advertising background, and then, we have someone who was doing UX and graphic design, and then our bot tuner started out as a QA engineer and now has moved into bot tuning.
That's amazing. I feel like having those like diverse like skill sets and like experiences ultimately lead to like a better bot.
Yeah, and I think, for people hiring conversation designers out there, definitely, make sure your job descriptions are quite open ended. I think having that background in design and, really good copywriting experience is important. But, when we put out job descriptions, we love people with linguistic backgrounds. I
Yeah.
know I took a linguistics course, a course or two in university, and that definitely has helped me,
Hmm.
in my role today. Human computer interaction design, and even
Yes.
people with, computer science backgrounds. Our conversation designer who has a background in game design, he came from computer science as well, and is even moved into, did some article writing and journalism as well. So
Yeah.
there's so many different facets.
Yes.
I've met people who've come from the movie industry who were, writing
Yeah. Like
scripts.
script writers. Yeah, I've seen those too.
Exactly.
I love how
Yeah.
diverse
Or
the field is.
content managers. There's
Mhm.
so many different skills that could be utilized, and within conversation design. And by having a diverse team, I encourage everyone to really try to diversify your team, because everyone brings something different to the table, and it's just help grow our team's expertise exponentially.
Absolutely, I love that. So
Mhm.
what software or tools do you currently use in your role?
Sure. So when it comes to creating conversation maps or flowcharts, we really love Lucid Charts. We've also used BotMock because it allows you to play the experience, which is really great when you're presenting to clients. And then, other artifacts, of course, we use Excel spreadsheet to build out our NLU matrices that kind of map or define, what intents are attached to which bots. And yeah, essentially just Google Cloud programs to keep things collaborative.
That's awesome. What skills would you say are the most important for your role currently?
Sure. So, the obvious ones come to mind, excellent copywriting skills, and of course, a background in user experience and design thinking. But I think other skills that are really important and that maybe are not as looked at, as much as they should be, is really having an excellent way of analyzing. We do a lot of data analysis with our work, trying to understand client pain points or customer pain points, and using that data to inform the design that we create for our clients. So, data analysis is super important, and being able to critically think, when you're looking at data and you're making those
Absolutely.
conclusions, and as well as great presentation skills. We are not, behind the curtain, kind of designing in the background. We are client facing. We always want to make sure we don't just present our design, but we also educate our clients on why we did what we did, and where our thinking came from, and what we, how we our design uh, flows were formed essentially.
Right. So
Yeah.
going back to the data thing really quickly, because that's really interesting. How much of the data analysis would you say falls on the conversation designer versus maybe like a data scientist or a data analyst?
Sure. So we actually get some business analysts involved on our side. That's some of the roles we have at Master of Code. But we're quite involved because we want to be able to digest the data firsthand, because we're the ones that are taking that and moving into actual design. Sometimes context can get lost if someone else analyzes data and kind of gives you a summary or report. So we do want to be attached to it as much as we can. And it's such a time consuming and manual process. So we're actually looking at ways to build our own software to see, if we can build a program that could, analyze data for us or assist with kind of categorizing the pieces of data that we are looking at.
That's amazing. I'm sure they'll save a bunch of you a whole lot of time as well.
A ton of time. I
Yeah.
hope so. I hope so. It is funny though. I mean, when you think just in the last few years, the technology that's come out, and
Yeah.
even what chatbots and voice bots are able to do, and the integrations that they can have, and the efficiencies that they bring to everyone who uses them. But data analysis, it's still very manual.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll change the next couple of
Yeah. I hope so too.
years.
What would you say the hardest part of your job is currently?
I would say data analysis, just
Of
because of
course.
the time it takes. And yeah, that's definitely the main one. And then I think also with that, so we get data from the customer or from the client, right? So sometimes not just the challenge of analyzing the data they provide. The challenge also lies in they might not even have data, or
Right. Of
maybe
course.
the right data that we need. Transcripts or like live agent transcripts or email customer emails or even recordings. If we're doing a client facing bot, we want to understand what customers pain points are about. We want to be able to address what they're talking about, and sometimes we don't always have that context.
Right.
So yeah, pretty much everything around data analysis. And also, we want to make sure that the bot is in line with the brand that we're building for. It's, we need to build a bot persona that is in line with their brand, and sometimes even brand documentation. Worked on a insurance client recently, and they didn't have a brand book. They didn't really have a tone of voice
Oh,
documentation. So we've kind of had to really work closely with them to make sure, the what they practice, what their live agents have, the principles that they follow. We want to make sure that's coming out in the bot as well.
right. Of course.
Mhm.
So, what advice would you have for people who are looking to break into their conversation design space?
Sure. I got into this around early 2019, and there wasn't a lot of documentation or blogs about it, and it has since exploded. There's conversational academy. There's courses you can take. I think immerse yourself in as much content as you can, just to get started in terms of figuring out if it's something that you want to explore, and definitely you know do, do courses or any kind of education around user experience and mapping user journeys. Really getting that understanding of, I think that's the foundation that you need to build off of, just
Mhm.
those kind of principles of design, and then you can build off from there. But there's so many resources out there now. I think just open up Google and search for as many as you can. Even I continue to learn just by reading articles, every week.
Yeah, absolutely. I also started in the conversation design field in 2019, and I remember,
Oh, amazing.
yeah, being one of the few people in that field, and
Mhm.
having to really struggle to explain what I do. And now it's
Definitely.
like, when I say I'm a conversation designer, most people get it, which is great. It just shows that it's becoming more and more popular.
That's great. I think my family, I think now knows what I do, and even my friends, I kind of have to remind them a couple times, and they say, "What did you make?" and "Where can I find that experience?" So, um, yeah, I can't believe how fast things have moved and progressed. Like I said, when I started, there were no courses out there that I could find, and
Yeah.
even podcasts. I mean, there's so many more podcasts now that have
Mhm.
come out. A great resource and tool for to listen on your way into work or
Mhm.
just if you're around the house.
Yeah, even, tools for that matter. When I started in the field, they were,
Yeah,
like, I don't think like BotMock or Bot Society were as, like, as well known as they are now.
yeah,
And now it feels
definitely.
like, we're moving away from the Excel spreadsheets, which I'm very happy about.
Yes, you know what? We actually started. I hate to say it, when we started, launching our first bot or chatbot experiences in
Mhm.
2016. We were using Excel spreadsheets, and
Yeah.
when I started working at Master of Code, I too thought there must be a better way, and
Yeah,
thankfully, there's plenty of programs that I much prefer using. Lucid
yeah,
Charts is definitely a favorite.
yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely looking up, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what would you say is your favorite voice experience or chatbot and why?
Sure. So you know what? I was initially going to say the 7 minute workout, but I'll be honest. During COVID, being at home all the time, there's only so many Netflix shows that my partner and I could watch. So we
Of course.
actually were playing Jeopardy, just using the Jeopardy scale and answering questions and competing against each other. And it was not only fun but also educational. So yeah, I'll have to say Jeopardy. It was at first. I was like, I don't really watch. I never really watched the TV show, but the skill's actually
Yeah,
quite fun to interact
that's awesome. I have to check it out.
with.
So, thank you, Amanda, so much for your time. We super appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.